The answer on Medicare is very simple. The implementation is very hard. But the core problem in the American health system is very simple. It's a triangular system. Somebody over here, whether public or private, that is insurance company or government, is paying somebody over here to do a service for somebody here. Triangular systems never work psychologically. Think about your experiences. You all spend most of your day in a binary system. You walk into McDonald's or Chick-fil-A or wherever you like to. You say, I would like a quarter pounder with cheese. They say, it will cost you this amount of money. They hand you a quarter pounder with cheese. You hand them the money. If you check in the bag and it's not a quarter pounder with cheese, you immediately say to them, this is not correct. If you don't give them enough money, they immediately say to you, this is not correct. By the end of the transaction, you're both satisfied. If you're not satisfied, next time you don't go to McDonald's. You go to someplace else. Now, this model works. This is the heart of a market-based system. And that means you have to have transparency of price, transparency of quality, real ability to choose, which means in the long run you want to move towards a relatively high deductible where you have a savings account that you can use tax-free in order to pay for your health costs, but it's your money. You overnight reduce the cost of health care. Because when people shop for themselves, they are much better shoppers than bureaucrats. And so the model is pretty obvious. Getting it implemented is complicated, but the core model we want to get to is simple. You and your doctor and your pharmacist and your dentist and your nurse and your hospital dealing with information in a way that puts you in charge of your life, that empowers the patient and gives you the ability to make the right decision for you and your family. Turns out to be better health at lower cost with longer lives and greater independence. And I think we can get to that model.
All right, 3 final questions, short answers. This is going to be really good. Corey Merritt. There she is. Corey, who would you choose today as your running mate?
Well, you're certainly on the short list. And I hesitate to go beyond that because.
Again? What'd you say?
I said I hesitate to go beyond that.
At least in Charleston, that's a half good answer. The other half, they're still thinking about you. All right, Barbara Bates. Barbara? There you go. Barbara has a question on your opinion on Agenda 21.
Agenda 21 is...
You may want to explain it a little.
Okay, Agenda 21 is a United Nations proposal to extend land planning models all the way down to the most local government on behalf of basically giving up private property rights in favor of communal controls. It has been pushed by the federal government, even though it's part of a treaty which the U.S. Senate has never ratified. And one of the executive orders I'd issue on the first day would block the federal government from having anything to do with the Agenda 21.
Final question. We have a lot of college students here today. Please talk about the future of America from their perspective and what can they expect.
Sure. And let me say, I do approach this whole campaign, I think, differently from anybody else. We have a number of friends who are also running. We have no opponents except Barack Obama. And I think that's very important. I think Lincoln was very wise, as was captured in a book called Team of Rivals, in actually developing literally everybody who was his opponent ended up in the cabinet because he needed all of them in order to be able to put together the political power during the crisis that we faced. And I would say the same thing. I don't know of a single person currently running who wouldn't be a very effective member of an administrative team and who doesn't have real talent and in some way would bring a unique strength. So I don't have any opponents on the Republican side. I want to say something to the young people here because I think you get sold short and America gets sold short. America is magic. It's why cynics and academics and Europeans and others never quite understand us. And we're magic because we really do believe that we can be a city upon a hill. We really do believe that we have been endowed by our Creator. And that isn't an act of arrogance. It's an act of humility. Because it means we have a responsibility. We are people who have been placed on this planet with the opportunity to extend freedom ultimately to every human being. We care about people so much that if there's a tsunami in Indonesia, we're there. If there's an earthquake in Turkey, we're there. If there's a hurricane in Honduras, we're there. Part of us has a tear every time a child is lost anywhere. It's why if you watch our news, we pay such intense attention when children are lost. Because every single child is a child of God. We've gotten off on a detour. And we've done this before in our history. And we're in a little bit of a mess. And we've had a weak period of political leadership. And we have bureaucracies that think they're Europeans and that we're only subjects and they can order us around. And we have judges who are alienated and think that they actually represent some international worldview superior to the Constitution. And we have a news media that reflects the academic world and an academic world that reflects the fantasy of the left. And so all those things come together. And we have some problems. We are the wealthiest, most extraordinary society in the history of the human race. At this very moment, we are the largest economy by a large scale. We are capable of pulling away from China as decisively as in the 1990s we pulled away from Japan. We have the most powerful military in the history of the world. But we have to come back to grips with a decision about who we are. And what I would say to every young person who's here tonight is, you're at the edge of a revolution in scientific knowledge that is going to liberate you in the next half century fully as much as any generation in American history. And I'll close with a person I admire a great deal that Clist and I did a movie about, Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan was born when we had horse cavalry. When we went out and filmed the movie, and we were at the ranch, I saw it, and the ranch is very small, 1950s style building. I saw this picture on the wall that I'd never seen before. It was Ronald Reagan in the 1930s in a U.S. cavalry uniform, not from a movie, but from an Army Reserve unit. Reagan was in one of the last horse cavalry units in the U.S. Army as a reserve officer. He'd grown up. He was born before motion pictures had sound. He went to Hollywood when Technicolor was brand new. He evolved into television which had not existed. And he spoke to the nation about the explosion of a space shuttle and the death of a teacher in space. All in one lifetime. And so he believed that you ain't seen nothing yet. And I would say to every young person here tonight, we will be back. We will rebuild the country we love. And we will say to the planet, you ain't seen nothing yet.